What do you see with your eyes closed?
Okay, so the world of what you can see with your eyes closed.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us a little bit about it? What can you see? How
Mm-hmm.
can you do it?
Mm-hmm.
What is it about actually? And
Mm-hmm.
can everyone do it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good questions. Yeah, so first, if we talk about what you see with your eyes closed, people have to have a reference, like an idea about what's happening. If you close your eyes, first you think it's dark, but you have to kind of unfocus a bit and relax, and then you will see with your eyes closed, you will see some light effects. And in the world of medicine, those light effects are called phosphenes, and sometimes phosphenes are signs of diseases of the eye or structures in the central nervous system, but that's only in rare occasions. But mostly the color patterns and light patterns which happens have something to do with the amount of relaxation of the central nervous system. So to say it easier, if you are in a meditative chill state, the more you're relaxed, the more you can see phosphenes, inner lights. And inner lights are phenomenological expressions of our own inner activity of our nervous system. And perhaps, and that's what people think, it is more. And it is more in the way that it's an expression of the divine in your own system. And why we think that is so? Because in many cultures, people have drawn pictures or describe phenomena they see when they have the eyes closed, especially when they are experienced meditators. And the more people are experienced meditators, the more they can relax, and the more they can relax, the more they can see the inner lights, and the more they can see the inner lights or the inner lights, the more they can connect with the inner divine.
Okay, all right. And so, would all people be able to see the same thing, or would it be different? Are there different types of phosphenes? Can they manifest themselves in different, I don't know, shapes,
Yeah,
colors, symbols? I don't
yeah.
know. Can they manifest themselves like this, or how can you better do it to see it? Uh, what would you think of that?
So
How?
that is kind of 10 questions.
Yes.
So, can all people see it? Is your first question. I think all people can see it
Yeah.
because it's a phenomena of our state of mind. If people are in the correct state of mind, I think all people can see it. But having said that, I know that friends of mine who are very auditive, instead of very visual, they have more difficulties of seeing it. They rather, in silence, if they do meditation, they rather hear sounds, which is called nada yoga, than that they see the lights. But 80% of all people are really primarily visual orientated, and all these people can see it once they take the appropriate steps to prepare your system. So if you just sit and you think about what you need to buy tomorrow for the friends who come, or if you have enough beer in the fridge, and then you close your eyes, you don't see anything because your attention is elsewhere. But if you relax and you do a meditation before, or you first do a nice sport and work out, and then you relax and you sit in a chair and you close your eyes and you take time, then everybody sees these visuals, these visual elements, these phosphenes, and there are indeed many different sorts.
Okay.
So actually what you see is in the central, if you close your eyes, it's in the center where we say the third eye is, that you start seeing something. Mostly it's like a blackness there, like you look into a tunnel, and then you see in this tunnel, which is perhaps more black than the environment, or it can also become more light, and then you can see a dot of light in the middle, and it can pulse. So it can start with some concentric circles in the middle of your visual system, and there are techniques to enhance that. For instance, focusing your attention on your third eye space makes it easier to see them. But if people have no experience, then the best is just to close the eyes, breathe slowly, and just watch, and then you will see the visuals starting to happen on multiple places in your visual field, and it can be dots, it can be grid. So if I close my eyes, mostly the first I see is a blue grid, like a very fine maced grid with parallel lines, and then in that grid lights start to happen. It can also be that it starts with nebula, with like light nebula, like slow clouds of light who move and disappear and who move and disappear. And sometimes it becomes all kinds of flickering lights, like dots, and they modify in place, so it's difficult to follow. And so there are many initial stages, and then step by step the visuals can become more elaborate.
Okay, thank you. And okay, then so 2 different questions, because, for example, I would imagine, and not imagine, I know that blind people or people who cannot really see, they sometimes like to stimulate the eyes more and the eyeballs, and they, with their eyes closed, they sort of, play with the eyeballs a little bit, and they push them inside, they press it, and also if you do that, you can straight away see some things. Why does this happen? What happens if you press the eyes inwards? Why do you have these visuals? And another question is about the third eye. Can you elaborate a little bit on the third eye? What it stands for, or the concept, or if okay.
Okay, so first the pressing.
Yes.
We see with people who are have development disturbances, like born blind, mostly, that they auto-stimulate the eyes by pressing. Mostly these patients are handicapped, and they use it as self-stimulation because their environment is extremely stimulant poor, because they're shut off by the eyes, and mostly they're also not very fit in the movements, so they auto-stimulate the system. And if you press the eyeballs, then the structures of the eye are going to influence the retina in the eye, and the pressure effects. When the pressure goes up in the eyeball, the retina responds by firing. It's all kinds of neurons in the retina firing, and then you see flashes of light, and that can be quite intense if you press. But these are not spontaneous phosphenes, and they don't have a spiritual meaning. They are clearly release phenomena from the retina.
Okay.
Yeah. So phosphenes are spontaneous movements in the visual field with eyes closed. That's the definition. And they know hallucinations, because some medical papers, they describe them as visual hallucinations, but the essential difference is that a hallucination is something you see, and the people who see these phenomena, hallucinations, they believe that that is really the real world. So someone might see a ghost happening here, if he's psychotic, a ghost happening here, and he really believes the ghost happens, and he becomes anxious and wants to run away because he holds it for true. But a phosphene is a phenomena which has no real representation in the real world. It's subjective, but you know it's not a reality that if you would see in a phosphene a threatening demon, you would not run away, because you know that this is a phosphene and not a hallucination. Okay. So that's the big difference. And then your question about the third eye. So the third eye is a space in between the eyebrows, which is correlates with the sixth chakra in the Indian system. So Ajna, the third eye, and to open the third eye is a term, a spiritual term, meaning that you can enter the spiritual realm and can see in the spiritual realm and connect with the divine, because you have cleansed yourself. So opening the spiritual eye basically happens, seeing the divine light beings happens if you're really relaxed, but also no blockages, energy blockages, like no frustrations, no anger, because anger makes it impossible to see phosphenes. If you're angry or anxious, you can forget it.
Okay.
So many people living in the big city, they are stressed by everything happening. They go in the evening and think, oh, this is nice, the Phosphenes, I want to see the inner light. Then they go sit, nothing happens.
Nothing happens.
You have first to unblock and to unburden and to get rid of your chronic anxious states or depressed states or angry state, whatever you have. And only when you are in balance, equilibrium, then your third eye can open. And then you can enter the spiritual realm and see whatever is meant for you to see.
Okay, interesting. And because I've read online, and I've also read from comments of subscribers of ours that have mentioned these Phosphenes, if they are associated or if they symbolize something, if they have a meaning in real life, can they be messages, or can we understand them as messages, something that we see and we think, oh, this is maybe associated with this or that? And does it have, or can it have something to do with synchronicity, or can it be related to that in some way?
Yeah, good questions. Yeah, so we are all trained in the Western world to believe in science. I'm a scientist. I was trained in there is an objective world we can measure. We have devices to measure the objective world, and everything which is subjective we neglect because we think this is random, and what's subjective for you is different for me. So we always thought it's about the objective world you can touch and measure the density of the wood. And because we are framed like that, we are conditioned like that, we have not given any attention to subjective phenomena. But the Buddhists and the people who studied old texts, the Vedic texts, so the Hindis, they have meditated for thousands of years, and they have learned that everything they perceive is basically the subjective world happening in your consciousness. So they have a total different conditioning than we have. They take subjective phenomena serious. So if they sit and they meditate and they close their eyes, they will see the same things we see after we are being relaxed, namely concentric circles, light starting, and then in the light circle starting in the sphere of the third eye, there can be devas, so gods or Buddhas or tantric deities happening in circles of fire, circles of very strong lights, and they all have been depicted in mandalas and in tankas in the Oriental philosophy, in the Buddhist tankas and in the Advaita or in the Vedic pictures. You see always the same phenomena. So it is subjective, yes, I see it, but you see it, and there is apparently a same structure, and that is what Jung called the source of that same structure, what Professor Jung, the psychiatrist, called the collective unconscious, because all these strong God phenomena are somewhere linked to our nervous system. And then they appear if we are empty. You have to be empty, then they appear and they can express, and then you can tap into those subjective experiences. And the subjective and the collective unconscious is basically an enormous reservoir of divinity.
Okay, so this would also be something interesting to discuss perhaps later on at another time. Carl Gustav Jung's work and how we can associate it with this world of synchronicity and of science and about this Phosphenes, everything that you can see from nature or from your own mind and being.
Yeah. So if you look at these Phosphenes as possibilities to connect with the divine inner self of your inner wisdom or your higher self, of your third eye, I mean so many ways to express it, then the Phosphenes can be seen as messages from the divine world, just as synchronicities are the ways the divine world talks to you. If you're perceptive enough to perceive it, you will see more and more synchronicities in your life.
Yes.
If you're perceptive to see it and you go do more meditation and be silent, you will be able to see more Phosphenes. And then at a certain moment the Phosphenes are going to be really quite meaningful, and they can even be linked to things you hear, and then you can, and it's well known from Hildegard of Bingen and from the Christian mystics that, but we didn't understand exactly what's happening, but basically they were seeing Phosphenes, the divine light of Christ, and hearing the divine voice of Christ or of God. You can hear and see just because you become more and more empty, and then your whole life starts to get a total different dimension. And it's not in the mind, it is a perception. And I think many people do not value that we can penetrate much deeper into this world of divinity if we would use the tools which are there. The tools are like meditative mind, but also dream work helps enormously to get more access to the world of the Phosphenes.
Yeah. And accessible to everyone.
In principle, yes. If you can reach the empty state, the no mind state, and you're chill and relaxed, and then everybody with the eyes closed will hear or see expressions of the divine inner world, or expressions of the collective unconscious, or the expressions of your higher self.
Yeah.
And you get messages, and you get clearly indicators what kind of life is possible for you to unfold, because we can all be much more than that we are. And tapping in the world of Phosphenes might be very helpful for people, because it's a really expression of something which becomes tangible, and it's not only philosophy. It's not, I can have a cross on the wall and look at the Christ and say, well, it's a beautiful representation. But if I see it as a light system and I feel the light in myself, and that's a totally different dimension.
Yes. Okay, nice. Thank you.